Hi everyone, thanks for being with me. This is the Tony Tompkins Show, and I certainly you will enjoy this conversation we're about to have around wokeness. There'll be many of you who will disagree, and that's fine. Put your comments in the comments section below, and please remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for further notifications. In the meantime, we're about to have a conversation about a very important topic, which is whether we are woke or not. Well, I'm happy to announce that I'm woke, and I see wokeness as a opportunity to be able to talk about progressive politics, the social issues that sit in our lives, and how we can best discuss those issues in a open and honest and friendly way. And I'll talk about an aspect of that which is pluralism in just a moment. But it's really important to be able to understand, I think, that we need to be aware of social issues, and we need to find ways to have conversations with people about those issues, even though they may resent the fact that you're having those conversations in the bloody first place. And so, if we have a look at what wokeness is, it's woke, the African American English synonym for the general American English word awake, has since the 1930s, so it's not all that recent, we need to remember that, or earlier, been used to refer to awareness of social and political issues affecting African Americans, often in the construction stay woke. Beginning in the 2010s, though, it came to be used to refer to a broader awareness of social inequalities such as racial injustice, sexism, and denial of LGBT rights. Woke has also been used as shorthand for some ideas of the American left involving identity politics and social justice, such as white privilege and reparations for slavery in the United States. So it's important, I think, for us to be able to have a general conversation about social issues, racial prejudice, a prejudice that people have, and certainly preventing other people from talking about issues which encapsulate inequality, for example, their own sense of identity, closing down. So the anti-woke groups, the right wing, will want to close down any discussion that they find confronting, that they don't agree with, that they see as something which is detrimental to their own belief and their own belief system. So it's important to be able to have those conversations, but the rights, because they continually insist that these conversations shouldn't be had, they therefore cut down, they limit, they eradicate any form of reasonable discussion around issues which are, I believe, important to have because they identify them as wokeness. And wokeness then becomes this evil term that somehow the right see as contravening their own personal beliefs about a range of issues, from whether one can say that they wish to change their sex to someone who wishes to be LGBTQI plus, and whether anybody's got a different view to the one that they hold. So as a result of that, if you have something that's different from what the right perceive as being appropriate for them, then obviously you're stupid, and you're not fitting the format, not fitting the style, not fitting their version of how our society should be. So they just blanket off and they don't accept any other version. And I just wanted to have a look at this other concept here, which is pluralism. And I hope you can see this. So pluralism is a situation in which people of different social classes, religions, races, etc., are together in a society but continue to have their different traditions and interests. So if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Christian, you'll have your different versions of what that religion, that tradition is, and what interests are expressed as a result of that. he spoke of the benefits of cultural religious pluralism, the beliefs that people of different social classes, religions, races, etc., should live together in a society. And so this is, and to me, this is integral because this is about finding ways by which a whole range of people could simply live together, could cohabitate, that understands the struggles that each of us have. I think that is imperative, and we need to be able to find ways by which we can do just that. So I'm going to now have I'm now going to try and find a way to be able to talk about how this looks, because there's a clip I'm about to play you from my favourite TV station, which is Sky News, who are embedded in this notion that anything that contravenes their belief, that challenges their own belief system, is therefore wrong, and that immediately the result of all of that is that it prohibits a conversation we all should be having about issues that not just affect the minority, but affect us all to some extent. And so this is the conversation on this particular day. And I just wanted to highlight when I show you this, that there's one particular person here. I don't know who she is, but she certainly has a lot to say. So this woman here has a lot to say about this particular issue, and certainly is very, I don't know, quite articulate, but is challenging in her version of wokeness. So I'll just play this for you and we'll talk about it.
The US now, Donald Trump has wasted no time preparing America about what to expect when he returns to the White House. He declared that woke has to stop, insisting that it's destroying the country, and essentially that woke is BS.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy, and we will keep men out of women's sports.
So it's interesting here that they talk about these two issues, which is about transgender people and transgender people playing and people that have transitioned playing male sports. I don't know why male sports, surely it must go the other way. But nevertheless, this is the issue that is important to the right wing. So it fascinates me primarily because we're not talking about a vast portion of our community. We're talking about ideas which challenge those people who believe that, you know, there's a male, there's a female, and that's it. And often those particular beliefs are based on Christian theology. So that those beliefs need to be challenged for sure, because people do see themselves differently. They identify themselves differently. You know, we identify as ourselves as left, central, or right often. And it's the same sort of thing in a bizarre sort of way, because if you identify yourself as left or progressive, you're simply wrong. No different from identifying yourself as as a gay person. You're still wrong. If you're transitioned from one gender to another, you're so wrong. If you're a black activist, then you're so wrong because you're so woke. And so it just continues down this pathway of, you know, right versus left. And it just ignores this notion around pluralism, which really is about us trying to have a conversation with each other about the differences that we see, but respecting that somebody else might have a different viewpoint, but there's nothing specifically wrong with that viewpoint. That is simply their view of the world, and they have come to that perspective because they have certain experiences that others don't have. And so that brings them to that particular point. So just back to this conversation around Donald Trump, heaven forbid, but this is the sort of thing that they're focusing on.
Freya, I think there are going to be a lot of relieved parents and relieved women hearing that message from Donald Trump.
For sure.
I want to know who's feeling relieved about this type of conversation that they're having. I don't understand it. And yeah, because they have this conversation in the United States, what in the hell has this got to do with Australia? It hasn't, except for the idea, I guess, that eventually some of these ideas will filter back here, and the right wing will behave just as Donald Trump does.
And I think this is the courage that so few political leaders really have. And it's easy now to look at Trump saying this stuff and be like, well, of course men shouldn't be in women's sports. But that was not the consensus position. Even a couple of years ago, even a year ago, things were so different. But it just shows you the power that courageous individuals can have and how we can actually turn around our culture. We really can. Conservatives often resign themselves to the backseat and say, oh, well, everything's just going to get more progressive and there's nothing we can really do about it, but try to resist as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it's a losing fight. No, we can actually turn the ship around. And I think the way...
Now, I don't understand. This ship she speaks about, Sarah, I think it is. What ship are they trying to turn around? The fact that 10 years ago, these issues were still apparent, and there were still people who were gay, and there were still people who were transitioning. And now, for whatever reason, because the right sees this as just such a terrible thing that people do, and there's masses of people doing it. In fact, according to the right wing, they're teaching this stuff in schools. Trump once said that, kids go off to school one day, a male come back a female at the end of the day. Crazy stuff. So they're selling this idea that people should not, according to them, be able to identify themselves the way that they wish to. And to me, that just cuts off this conversation. So why are you not having a conversation with the people who have made those decisions to transfer their gender to something else? Why aren't you having conversations with them? And the problem that we have here is that the right wing fail to understand the experiences that other people have. So the world is filtered through their own narrow version of how people should be, how they should be thinking, and how they should be feeling, and the way they construct their reality. This is how the right wing see things. And this is not pluralism, and it is counterproductive, because what it does at the end of the day is it pits one group of people against another and fails to have that conversation that they should be having in the middle. And I find this rather sad, to say the least.
Trump has come out so strongly against this crazy, radical, anti-reality wokeness, and the way he has...
Now, I love this bit. For some reason, this verifies my point, that is it anti-reality to declare that someone else's reality is because it's different to yours, it is therefore not real? It's like if someone is abused, like someone they're in a violent relationship, and we discount the woman's experiences of that violent relationship because we just listen to the male who says that she started it all. Does that mean that her experiences aren't validated? Well, the reality is women's experiences around violence and sex and so forth have not been validated for centuries, and now they're suddenly being validated. So does that make it wrong if those validations are incorrect if you disagree with her? So it's the same sort of argument and I can't get over the fact that people like this particular woman insist that it's not rational. Of course it's rational.
Has been rewarded by the general public shows that conservatives need to get up off their butts and stop whining about always losing every fight, because they don't have to lose. We can actually win fights. And this proves if we're on the side of truth, if we're on the side of reality and common sense, we will win.
Yeah, and
So her version of reality and common sense is not necessarily reality for certain portions of the population either. And she, I think, it's Sarah, and I don't know her background very much, don't know all that much about her, but she needs to wake up to the fact that there are people that have different perceptions of all of this than what she does.
Saw that in the US, didn't we, Joe, with
Yep.
with the election results? The pendulum really
Absolutely.
swung and people really rejected all this woke nonsense.
Yeah, and it's not just the right. It's not just.
See, don't like the way it's woke nonsense. I don't know what's nonsense about being progressive and being understanding and empathetic and all those other things that are supposedly is just woke nonsense. You know, they make statements like that, and you think, well, you're not really in touch with what people are thinking and feeling anyway, so why even make those statements? And it's often because you have a set of views that are so rigid that nothing's going to shift those views. They're entrenched. They're not going to shift, and this is what annoys me about these people on Sky and this right-wing media is at least have a conversation. At least not, I don't like progressives either who just bury themselves in one version of events. I want to hear from other people. I spent my whole career looking at other people's lives and trying to work out how they sit and how they fit and how they work within those environments and what has constructed them to think and believe the way that they do. They were interesting conversations. I got to understand who those people. I didn't agree all the time with the things that they did. Their behaviours in many cases were horrific. But what I wanted to understand is what brought you there in the first place. Why do you believe some of the stuff that you believe? Why do these people that I'm playing here, why do they believe whatever it is they believe? And to what extent do they allow that space to be able to talk about their beliefs in relation to other people's? So, to have a conversation with somebody who's gay about what they see as being gay and why that's important and why they want a same-sex relationship is really important to have. We don't necessarily have to agree with everything that a person says, but I often think that if we do listen to other people, we can develop an understanding which helps us to develop theories and principles and ideas that are going to benefit everybody, not just a one exclusive group who often appear to be the wealthy, the influential, the politicians. But we need to be able to have rational, sensible conversations about these issues with the people who are affected, not just to hide exclusively within our own bubble. I think that's really important. I just want to say before I finish, just remember to subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think about this wokeness, whether you can appreciate that perhaps you are more progressive than what you are, that perhaps you can think about what conversations do I have with those people whom I'm criticising for being LGBTQI plus people or transgender people or whatever. What information do I have that informs me about who these people are? Who do I speak to? I've often thought, when people talk about Indigenous issues, for example, how many people do you speak to who are Indigenous? Why do you hold that view specifically around the notion that Indigenous people get everything? That they've brought this all upon themselves, that it's not about, the fact that this country was invaded and the things we did to Indigenous people. That was years ago. That's just got to do with them. We shouldn't be thinking about that now. This is a great country, blah, blah, blah. Indigenous people, should have the best of everything, but they bring it upon themselves. So those are the ideas. Why don't we have conversations with Indigenous people about what that's like for them? This is the problem. We're not having those sorts of conversations, and the reality is we should be. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.